All right, welcome back to the Nagelblur podcast, and here we are with Eric Anderson.
Howdy.
What's up, bro?
Not much, man. Chilling.
All right, Eric is a local filmmaker, musician? No.
Not a musician.
Not a musician,
no,
okay,
no.
all right.
But I mean, I appreciate we can say that if you want.
He's a brewmaster.
I sling some beer. Yeah.
Sling some beer, yeah. And we recently just got done with shooting, not your first short film, but honestly, it's my first short film outside of film school.
Yeah, I suppose it is.
Really?
Yeah, it went. It's all right.
Ridley's in studio today, too. Ridley, lay down. Come on, bud. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was. I probably shot or directed 3 shorts since I've been out of school.
Yeah.
And I think this is really the first project we've worked on at all since MCTC, and we've both been out of there for 4 years now.
2016 we graduated.
Yeah.
3 years, 3.5.
It's crazy.
Jeez, yeah, that's wild.
Yeah,
That's
so
pretty wild.
It felt good to be on set again with some old faces and some
Yeah.
new ones. You know,
Yeah.
get the gang back together.
I know, right? God, it was awesome. Yeah. So, let's spin you up. What's your history with film? Why'd you go to film school? Where'd you start off? What's your
Yeah.
inspirations?
So I guess growing up, I just kind of always watched movies in a different way. Just always wanted to know like the little tidbits and stuff. I know before we hopped on here today, we were talking about watching like director's commentary and stuff for movies. And I always loved that. So it was always just kind of a passion, but not something I thought I could really make a living off of in high school. And so when I went to college, I went to business school for a year. Wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
Didn't see myself as like a paper pusher on a cubicle, but still had that entrepreneurial mindset. So I transferred from business school to film school. And that was kind of the beginning to my journey. Wanted to make movies and try to, do it with my friends and pay my bills off it.
Yeah.
We're still getting there.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you guys have been actually in the more of the narrative part of filmmaking in Minnesota? I tried jumping over to commercial or corporate, so that's where I kind of lived before I went to Kuwait.
It's smarter.
How is the narrative work? I mean, Minnesota has a community for narrative work. I see it all the time on the Facebook posts. I'm always reluctant to get into it, and I'm glad I went with and dove in with you guys and
thanks,
like
man.
how organized you guys were. I'm not a fan of narrative. I should say I'm not a fan of narrative. I'm not a fan of the huge indie narrative market.
Sure.
To put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how has that been for the last 3 years? I mean, like I said, I literally 2 weeks ago was my first experience jumping into outside of film school. Yeah. How has that been for you guys?
I really enjoy it. I like being able to tell fictional stories, and especially kind of now recently moving towards more lighthearted content.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of been my bread and butter through film school. I've worked on some doc projects. I've always thought it'd be cool to work on like a biographical film or something. But for the time being, I've just been focusing on developing little worlds and characters and stuff like that. And I think also it comes from just kind of the instructors I had at MCTC. Like, I guess just for the people listening, you went there down the cinematography track.
Yeah. Yes.
And I went for directing. And I think for cinematography, they prep you for that commercial side a little bit.
Yeah. They do. Yeah. Adam, who's our professor, Adam Olson, he's awesome. We were more. He did focus a lot on narrative, by all means, but we definitely, when you dove into the cinematography aspect, it's like you better start working on corporate. Like, basically, reality sets in. Like, they're like, you're not diving. This is Minnesota. You're not diving into some rich Hollywood. People like I shouldn't say the best of the best, but you have a lot of people going out to Hollywood to try to make it out in Hollywood. Like, Minnesota, there's none of that work here. Is here.
But there's a pretty good size
there is a good market.
Scene
yeah,
here,
but commercial scene. That's exactly so. Like he was not so much pursuing narrative, but towards the end of our tenure as cinematographers, he was like, yeah, you're gonna have to do commercial. And then we started working on commercials in our last semester on, hey, how do we make this look sexy and look good, and then also how to sell yourself to the market. So yeah.
I mean, those are very, I think, like, that's a very practical way to teach. Those are very like employable
especially
skills.
in our field. Oh god, yeah.
I mean, like, and that's for me, like, I didn't really get that in directing. They didn't really teach you how to direct a Target commercial or how to work with an ad agency. It was all about, write a character, write a scene, how do these characters interact with each other. So it was kind of, you're building your own world rather than trying to showcase a product or something. But there's definitely an art in both of those.
No, there is, and I agree. And I guess that's the biggest challenge of being in the Minnesota market is being people want to make their narratives, but there isn't much of there's a good enough commercial scene where you can make money, but even that's really hard to get into. So it's like, you can't be like, oh, well, there's all this narrative and I work in Hollywood and then I work for the corporate system in Hollywood, or being in California where you can find ads every day that pay you $500 a day. Like, and you could be, and you can kind of hop on almost any day. Yeah. And then pay your bills. And then also everyone's doing narrative work anyways. So there's like, obviously that's Hollywood, that's California. But for us here, it's like, not slim pickings on the commercial side, but you got to fight your way to get into commercial corporate work to pay the bills. And then you're constantly fighting for that, or at least to get enough work to where you'd be doing some random stuff. I know people that have started to make a living and you're like, that's who which is amazing. You're like, that's who you're making a living with. But you're like, God, I wish I would have thought of that, because at least you're getting paychecks.
Shooting cereal commercials for, General Mills.
Oh God, I wish you were shooting cereal commercials. I mean, like Chris Roshan is shooting info videos for a it's a security or it's not security, it's RFID like bracelet / computer system for jails, for like prison systems. Yeah, so he like goes they fly him all over the country into these like really shitty towns that have these giant penitentiaries. Yeah, but they pay him really good money, and he's doing really. And then he has like a church gig, and he's not even religious. He's like, yeah, they pay me, and so it's a job. It's a job. So he's now making enough to where he's like comfortable. And then he can kind of start pursuing a little more narrative. But it took 3 years to do that, Yeah,
it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, and also, like I said, you work part-time. You work 2 jobs, right? Or
I'm working 2 jobs right now. I work at the Grip House and then also at the brewery. And, it's like I'm still trying to find a way to navigate those waters of making films in this community. But I think you got to look at it year by year. Like we talked about how it's crazy that we've been out of film school for 4 years. Mm-hmm. But, like, we're in a new year here. Yeah. 2019 for me was better than 2018. Yep. And 18 was better than 17. So it's like, as long as you keep moving in that direction, shit's going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. As long as you keep pursuing it. And I took a break going on, well, I shouldn't say took a break. I had to for the going on deployment, but even hopping back into it and being like, a lot of stuff's changed. And it's like, again, 17 was a real shitty year for me. 18 was really, it started getting better. And then I left 18 and 19. But it's like now each year you're trying to do better at what you're doing, not only definitely financially. Because otherwise, without I don't care how you swing it, you can be the most passionate person. If you can't pay bills, then you better find something that pays bills, and that's going to definitely cut your legs out from underneath you if you are trying to become a filmmaker in Minnesota. And that is our biggest struggle here. I mean, like, I shouldn't say our biggest, but it's like I said, I like we were talking about making short films. Like, you make short, that's awesome. And you guys, like I said, I was so pumped to be on this because that's the most organized I've ever seen anything. And I've been on Pioneer DuPont, BASF. Like, I remember going on like these like commercial shoots where I was, or not even they were commercial shoots, but they were like 3-4 people, and and I'm shooting these like angles that I'm like, I think they'll like this. And the like ad agency guys like, yeah, that's good, let's do that, Yeah. And then they end up paying us a little extra cash, because we were doing aerial, because I was just there to do aerial, but then we got some ground because it was a small crew. Yep. It's a giant multi-billion-dollar company, and they're like being stingy. They're like not being stingy, but they're kind of like, oh yeah, well, this is what we're thinking. And you're like,
that's how the rich stay rich, though.
I know, yeah, it's very true. And then there's some other stuff, like we went and did Netflix. We drove out to California and shot for Big Mouth for their promo.
Oh, like, no kidding?
2 years ago, yeah. You ever see like the space uterus? They did a little teaser trailer.
Okay.
And so Geis, that was Adam Geis, North Star Aerial. He knew one of the guys from Minnesota. Went out to California, started working with Netflix 4 or 5 years ago.
Cool.
We did the editor route, and then it's like found his way to be a director. So Nick Kroll, so I'm sitting there eating like 10 feet away, eating street tacos with like Nick Kroll, and I'm sitting there, I'm like trying to take a photo, and I was like, shit. And he kind of like glanced at me, and I was like took my phone away, like, oh, I'm just texting somebody.
Oh man, that's great.
I was trying to get a photo of him, but every time I like bring the phone up, like he just kind of like started glancing our way, and I was like, damn it. But
because that's an animated show, I didn't know they did live action.
They did a live promo. Yeah, they did a live promo. So we have like all the footage of
man, that's so cool.
So like from the air of him like looking around and like, hey, and if you like, I mean, you can pull the promo. They're on season 3 now, but this was season 1. And they had a giant space uterus, And so they had this guy from he's like known for making these flowers, like pictures that can be seen from space / the air.
Oh, cool.
He's like famous for it.
Yeah.
So they flew him out there for like 3-4 weeks, and he's like, yeah, I got a gig in China. They're paying me a ton of money. So he's like flying out to China for like a few years to literally make the biggest one of them all, where you could see it from space.
That's crazy.
And it's like some Chinese letter. He was like, I don't know, I just designed it and whatever. And I'm like, hell yeah, man, paycheck, son. Just whatever. Chinese government paying me. I don't give a fuck.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
But anyways, yeah. So we, it's like it's hard to get even the corporate commercial work, but even that was well organized. But like, I guess just because obviously it's they can't mess around. Like they have an idea and then they have it, and they had like 2 or 3 cameras going, and they just kind of like did like the documentary type style shooting. So there wasn't like this angle, this angle, this angle. It was very much like,
sure.
And like Nick Kroll's like, all right, what are we doing? All right. Yeah, he's like, you're gonna start here, and then you're gonna walk around and here, and he's like, all right, and they just like say funny stuff, and then they just kind of like improv'd a few takes.
Okay,
and that was it, and they were gone. They got back in their car and they left.
Cool.
But the amount of money though was spent on that, like 4
bet.
hours. It was like 4 hours. I don't even think we shot for 4 hours.
That's
like it
crazy.
was tops. And we got there like a day early. We flew the area a day early, made sure everything was perfect.
Yeah.
Showed up like 4 hours early. Like me and him were just like making sure nothing went wrong. And everything went smooth. Yeah. And
that's super cool.
yeah, it was cool. And so yeah. Anyways, but even then, like there was no shot lists.
Yeah.
But they spent a ton of money. There's like a giant not DIT trailer, but a giant trailer for them to like go in and do their whatever. And
who knows what kind of planning went in beforehand, on
Yeah.
their side of things.
Yeah.
They might have been having weekly or
who
daily
knows?
meetings.
Yeah, who knows? And then I've heard Russell Heater has also been on like a Gatorade shoot, and he said that shit's nuts. Like, they're nuts. He's like wild.
Yeah.
Well, they're down to the minute. So, anyways, but coming to your guys' short feature, or short film was awesome because that's the most organized I've ever seen anybody.
Thanks,
Plus,
man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And like just from my perspective, it was amazing because we have all our own departments to work with. I didn't have to worry about catering. I didn't have to worry about producing. All I had to worry about was lighting, working with you, and then gaffing. And even I didn't have the gaff really. I mean, I put up lights, but I had Jake and his brother Josh, and sometimes Chuck, like doing it, and that in itself was just made everything just go. So it was awesome.
That means a lot, man.
No,
I mean,
it
it makes
was
me
great.
feel like I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right path, but also like I couldn't have asked for a better crew.
Yeah,
the
crew was
team we
great.
assembled.
It was awesome.
I've talked about it before in the past, kind of jokingly, but I think there's some
Yeah.
truth to it. But like every time you have a production that you need to assemble the crew or cast, it's almost like you have a little fantasy filmmaker draft.
Yeah.
Where it's like, who can I put on this team in which position to be the most successful? And it's everyone worked really hard.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of it wasn't light work. People. It was long days.
Yeah.
But I feel like I walked away from it. I learned a lot. I made some new friends.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's important. It's good to feel like job well done and pat yourself on the back, but it's also good to walk away learning some lessons and being like, I could have done this better.
Mm-hmm.
This could have gone smoother, because I feel like if you walk away and you don't have those experiences, then there really wasn't much learned,
Yeah, exactly.
You got to learn from each time. So,
and that's something I think me coming into it, because I've always been standoffish about it for the last 3 years about doing it, and always in my head I see people like, we're going to do whatever this weekend, and I have those not nightmares of film school, but film school was so difficult with when we did shoot our short little films. I hated it, or I enjoyed what I did, but then I had to do everything, and then it doesn't turn out the way you want, or it doesn't. I shouldn't say turn out the way you want, but like for me, it's just like, it was everyone's half-assing it because they're in school, and so
there's truth to it. Well, and everyone's just new,
and new to it. So not only that, they just don't know. Like I don't know, so I'm freaking out. So even me as a cinematographer trying to like make it look good, like I'm just throwing up lights and I'm like, I think this is how it looks. I don't know,
Yeah.
And obviously experience helps, but I it was great seeing your guys' crew, because then I see people that were legitimately into it. Like legitimately, like
that's the most important thing
So
for
like,
me.
well, if we do this doesn't work. Like script supervising and like, well, and you guys had your group doing that, and I was like, Jesus, like hell yeah, that's awesome, because people are into it. Like you guys had the production design down. You had everything that I took away from that was like, you see where the effort needs to be focused into. Like, as me as a cinematographer, like you as a director, you know, like you guys bought the posters, you bought the toys, like those are the little things that help. And now when you shoot, I'm assuming, again, this is all what I watch in DVD commentaries and everything is you know, what's the next step from that, but focusing on that. Whether, you know, do you get your own house? Do you paint the walls then now? Do you hire somebody to do the color palette? You know, like that's like, now that you've like stepped into that, and now I mean, you guys have been doing it, but like me seeing it from my perspective, like now that I've stepped in with you guys and be like, what do we do to make the image better? You know, like now we paint the wall, or now like I get involved and be like, what's our color palette? So that, you know, we always have people talk about that. I mean, that's truly how big Hollywood does it. It's like, these are the greens, we're shooting this. These are the reds, and these are the you know, etc.
And it's, you know, all that stuff you mentioned, the locations, the set design. It's, you know, it's stuff that's really important, and a lot of times it's the job of like 10 different people. You've got someone dressing the set, you've got someone painting the set drops, you've got you know, someone watching continuity, someone designing props, you know, coming up with the color palette. It's really like
clothing, like
clothing,
just, like
wardrobe, costuming.
Wardrobe is huge. Like even wardrobe is well, obviously even wardrobe, but wardrobe is huge.
Makeup too.
Makeup. Makeup's another big one. Yeah. So, and so it was cool to step in and see people like that are not only good at it but are passionate about it. But then we executed. You guys put in as much effort. I put in as much effort. We all put in the effort. And then to see at the very end of the day, we watch it, because no matter what, I'm going to see the image and I'm going to be like, I love that image. I hate that image. Why do I hate this image? You know, just in my own personal opinion of like, did I light it correctly? You know, is it me? Do we not put enough props in it? You know, then in my head, I'm like, okay, now we start to see it. And I'm sure you will too, be like, I wish I had more props. I wish I had this. I wish we painted this. So then at least.
And you'll always have that.
And you'll always have it. But at least now every step you make a new short, you don't have the excuse to be like, oh, I wish. You now know to execute. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no, I know it was great. Yeah,
I had a good time, and I mean, I'm glad that you felt it was as organized as it was, because I think too, like we both went to the same school. I think sometimes when people come out of film school, that small group that actually decides, I'm going to continue with this and make movies. I think a lot of people have a big reality check their first time on a real set, you know, a commercial shoot or something with a network, where it's like you realize that, oh, film shoots aren't just people standing around in the kitchen and a pack of people out back smoking cigarettes and everyone's on their phones. It's like film school, you know, people are still trying to learn the etiquette, but you've got all the professional gear. So it's like the opportunity to make something really cool is there. But, you know, you don't figure it out overnight.
Exactly, So. And for me, it was just like lighting, just because I was a cinematographer. So I was like, I know how to do because it's always comes down to basics, and then everything else you start to tweak. And I'm like, side light, diffusion, you know, we're like, okay, like this looks good. You know, like some of my favorite shots are the most boring when it comes to, you know, like it's just a dialogue scene. But
simple 3-point lighting. I mean, there's a formula to it.
Yeah, exactly. And then a little bit of bounce, a little fill, and then that's it. And you're on, you know, you're not doing crazy, you know, lighting up cathedrals or doing, you know, it's just like a simple, making the simplest stuff look good and to make it look competent is like, to me, is the hardest, you know, like, you know, at least in my own head, you know, because you think of like, well, why did this, you know, we watch, like, if you watch The Fighter or you watch other films, and like, they're just in a room. They're in a room. So what made them so good? You know, did they...
All the stuff we talked about, the set dressing, the lighting. You know,
exactly. The actors, you got Christian Bale.
Mark
Wahlberg with Christian Bale. So I'm sure that helps a lot, you know, like, just seeing that in itself would probably, it helps. But so all of that is, you know, seeing how it gets all put together was awesome. And then to see it executed, and then now we have time to edit. There's enough time to edit. You know? And honestly, I you know, talking seeing it, you know, sitting down with Andy, he's got a big task ahead of him to make it flow, to make it sound good, to make it, you know, really, you know, even getting all the dialogue synced up and make sure you are working every angle of an editor as you can. You know? So. Yeah.
He's a driven guy, and he's a really talented editor. And I mean, he's a film school dude too. I didn't go to school with him. He went to Metro State. But I mean, pretty much self-taught, I think, on Premiere, and the dude's a wizard. But I think the tough thing for this is going to be Cutting it down to the parameters of Z-Fest
Yeah.
is the big challenge.
Yeah.
But I think actually assembling a story out of this, the best version of this film might come out to 10, 12 minutes.
It's true. Yeah.
The festival says it's got to be under 7.
Under
Though.
7.
So it's, there might be a couple different versions of Robo-Dave when the time comes to release it. But we've got our work cut out for us. But I think everyone did a really good job on set, and we walked away with some really solid footage.
Yeah, and I was very excited for it all. Like, it was turning out like like I was thinking in my head, like the night scene.
That's what
stuff.
I want to hear. That's like the most important thing is like, being able to walk out with that movie you had in your head. Shot.
Yeah,
like that's such a cool feeling.
Yeah, and then like just seeing framings and stuff. Like, cause I'm like excited. Like I got to grab the footage from Andy.
Yeah,
and then I was gonna probably do a little we have the same file structure, so I was gonna take on a few scenes and then edit for him. And if I have time, send it his way and be like, "What do you guys think?"
Yeah,
like here's the premiere file, and then
just kind of lend an extra hand.
like an extra hand. Yeah.
No, I'm sure
because it's a lot to take on, especially with that much data. I mean, it's 1.5 terabytes worth of stuff. Yeah. Right?
Gonna look pretty.
Dude, dude. I hope, yeah.
Yeah.
It was the highest quality of the Black Magic could offer, so
damn,
we'll really put their shit to the test.
Sweet camera, by the way, too. Like, shout out to Black Magic.
Shout out to Black Magic. Yeah, all B-raw, quality zero, so it's the most uncompressed.
And multicam too. This was the first time I've ever done multicam on a narrative project.
Yep.
And the homie Chuck showed up. Shout out to Chuck.
Yeah.
Chuck killed it. Hopping in there with the B cam and just being like, it was those little things where it's like once you have the basic foundations and you build on that, like not just watching camera display or a little on camera display, but like having a monitor. And having picture in picture with the two cameras and making sure, trying to get everything slated and labeled correctly. And, the lighting, once you have that basic 3-point, then you add little fun touches in there. It's like, I think that was something we really tried to go the extra mile in a bunch of departments.
Exactly.
On this project.
And that's what I think really helped, like, at least with me diving in. Because that's my standard now.
Yeah.
And so if we ever execute another one, we know the standard of it. And if I ever get asked to go on to another shoot, that's my standard of being like, well, do you have this? And like senior guys, like that's the at least bare minimum we should ever be at. Or that if I walk onto a set, that should be the bare minimum.
Doing better.
You have to have this. Do you have this? Because it's tough to donate your time to, because coming out of film school, a lot of people are it's a passion project stuff, but then it's kind of like winging it, or it's just not, everybody, it's tough because then you end up taking on a bunch of roles and it's not fun and you're exhausted. Like I was exhausted. I went to bed and Monday I had to get up and go return equipment. I was still exhausted all day Monday. Like it's like I barely slept because I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
Like when you get to that point where like I slept and I was just like woke up, I'm like, I'm not even fucking like I'm still tired, That
was me Monday too. I think I woke up and drove to Film North in the same clothes I went to bed in, didn't brush my teeth, dumped off the gear, got back home, finally was like cleaned up and just ready to chill. And then I get an email from Film North saying, "Oh, you mixed up one of the C-stands," and then I had to go back in. And man, it's always just trying to come back to real life after being on set.
I know,
just riding that filmmaker high for 3 days.
Mm-hmm. And then it's so, and like again, and I love when people talk about, and you always hear about on the podcast and all the DVD commentaries and everything of like people that have made it or people that have executed the film and it's successful. You don't hear, I mean, you still even hear it from the people that have failed.
Yeah.
But it's still awesome because I was listening to, what it was a little, it's called like one of the YouTube channels I just happened to come across, but it was like I think called Word to the Wise or Words of Wisdom or something like that. And it was a Jordan Peterson bit when he talks about, he's a psychologist, and he talks about creative people. And how not everyone's creative.
Sure.
But don't ever think that creative people have got it good. Like he talks about how he's like, you ever run into a creative person that's not doing their passion, they're depressed, they're terrible, even though they may be, everything checks in the box for a regular person. They have the money, they have, they got a good job, they're not happy.
Yeah.
And he goes, and they're crazy to pursue a passion that may drive them to madness or even drive them into the ground or debt. But the happiest when they're that, he's like,
when they're doing
it. He said, don't ever not feel bad for a creative, or if something basically along the lines of like, if you when you're creative, not everyone's creative. Like his thing was like nothing wrong with, being going to work and making got a lot of good money at a corporation or work, whatever, or doing something along those lines. Not everyone's creative, basically saying, but don't ever think though the creative people got it easy though either. Like he just kind of breaks that down. And it's like, I remember listening, I was like, God, that's so right. Cause it's like, I did that. I mean, I didn't start film school till I was 28.
Right.
No, sorry, 26, 27. Sorry, it's 27. And I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker since I was 13.
Yeah.
So I knew all those years that this is my passion, this is my drive, and I slowly touched into it all those years, but I wanted to do something else. And then now that I'm in it, now I want, not saying I want to be in it, but now I'm in it. Now it's, to experience kind of like a different life and to come back and be like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And that's it. Like there's nothing stopping me in doing it. And you have to go through those super lows in filmmaking to then get those highs. Like I said, doing film school and then like doing this has really been, and I've done my own commercial specs, which is great because you're like, oh cool, it looks great, I can sell this and people love it. But doing the narrative is the ultimate. Yeah, like commercials pay money, man. If you can get in that groove, make a ton of money. But it's like still to me the narrative.
That's the dream for you still.
Oh God, yeah, nice. $100 million. Like that's my big budget Hollywood films. Yep. So like I don't know if it'll happen, but my biggest end goal in life, I shouldn't say in life, but like in my career is $100 million feature film. Yeah. Like they said, you have a budget, $100 million. And,
you know what you want to do, man.
It. Yep.
That's important.
So that's like my not end goal, but that's like my peak. Whatever. You could fucking bomb and then you'll never see my name again. But there I did it, And that's totally I got to the point and they were like, totally it was a terrible movie. I was like, whatever.
It's another box
Transformers
check,
fucking 9 or something. That's all I care about. They're like, well, we only gave you $100 million instead of, the 200 you typically get with Michael Bay. And be like, well, that's fine. I'll just tank it.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
You want to direct it or shoot it?
Direct it.
Directing Transformers 9. All right.
Yeah, directing. Yeah. But
I'm holding you to that.
I think, dude, DP and scares me a little bit. Only
on that level.
Yeah. On that level. Again, though, I think it's a confidence thing. So, like me going on your set, I feel more confident now going on other sets. Yeah. So that's why I think the narrative stuff is very important for me, because commercial stuff it's a different. I don't want to say it's a different world, but it's a different beast to take on. Like I can go take 2-3 guys and shoot a really sexy commercial spec, and I'll edit, shoot it, direct it, and it's come out, and I've done it, and so that's given me confidence. But then going into the narrative realm, though, that scares me because. It's one thing to make car commercials look sexy and having everybody backlit and everybody shooting sunset or sunrise, as every YouTuber on the planet is sunset, sunrise. Well, what's the dynamic range of this camera? Just look how gorgeous it is, and everybody's they're all walking on a beach at sunset or in the mountains on sunset, sunrise. Right. But what is really separate is like when you watch The Joker. Sure. What's that color palette? But they're on a 1970s bus. They're in the 1970s. They got the costumes. They got everything, and then you see those angles. And like. And to really dive into the narrative. Like Joker was one, and same with 1917, I just saw 1917, there's nothing impressive about the lighting. There's not. So now you are transcending lighting to what is the movement? What is the framing? What does this mean? How do we get around this? And in like 1917, there's literally shots in there that could be masters. That they just flow into that shot. So that shot is then now the composition. They go from composition to composition in one take, and you're just like, fucking blows your mind, and it's gorgeous looking. Yeah. But then you're like, God, it looks flat. It's all flat. Yeah. It's a very flat picture. There's no
stylistic thing. I mean, even lack of lighting. That's sometimes that's a style of lighting. That's a choice. Yeah. I think when you do those things and you're self-aware of what you're doing. Yeah. Like. Once you know the basics, then it's okay to break the rules a little bit. Well,
that's what they always say. Is like once you know the basics, you can break the rules. But that to me is probably the scariest. If somebody was like, came up to me and they're like, "We love what you did on Robo Dave. We got a $10 million feature that we're shooting. We want you to DP it." Yeah. I would probably fucking shit my pants and have a breakdown, like stress breakdown, just eternally. It'd be like.
I think most people would. I think most normal people would. Yeah. Anyone in general.
Just because it's like it's not even like it's a big budget, but it's just like taking on that respect because everybody always has to work their way up, and there's only like a few people on the planet that have been like, I did a feature right out of film school and I killed it, and I have an Academy Award. See how good I am? Like, no. Yeah. That's like such a lottery ticket, and then so slim. And then they have that skill to be a savant that's that good. Like. It's a whole nother whatever. Then they won the lottery. But everyone else, all 99.9% of everybody has to work their way up in one facet or another.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's me. Like, the more narrative now, that's why I want to do more short features with you guys or short films. Is just now we can start focusing on, now that we've all pulled that trigger, at least for myself, like now I've pulled that trigger, what's the next step?
Yeah, and that's my big question right now is what's the next step?
Yeah, what is next? Yeah, exactly.
And it's a fun place to be in, but it's also like the most nerve-wracking feeling.
Yeah. What's your biggest fear?
Oh man,
Like film directing wise, or anything in this community?
my biggest fear before I actually finished film school was like, what if I get overwhelmed with the student loan debt and just the stress of the real world, and I get a conventional job, and then all of a sudden I'm 40 and I'm like, man, what if I would have made that film, And so that was the biggest fear for me, is eliminating the what if I would have, because I don't want to ever look back at like, oh, I could have done that. So I think for me the fear is just like, am I putting out enough content? Which only I can answer that, and right now I'm not. It's I'm we're all preaching what we want to do, but you got to start practicing it too. So I think that's my biggest fear all the time is, am I doing enough? And I think as a creative, you never are. You know, you're always trying to do better.
I'm in that rut right now. Like, I have a YouTube channel, Instagram, and all that stuff, and podcasts, and I don't ever feel like I'm doing enough. Like, I was like, I'm trying to do film, and I think it comes to scheduling organization, because I'm like, I feel like in my, like today, I just woke up and I'm like, I have to do all these things. We're buying a house, personal stuff. So it's like,
busy man.
Buying a house, you got to get stuff done personally. Military, like I'm trying to get my OCS, my officer packet together. That's not for 4 months, but it's like, it lingers in your head. Got to go work out because I have a certain standard in life. So I'm running 4 miles a day. You got to work out, you know what I mean? Like, and then you're like, and then I got to go to the movie theater to go watch this movie. And then hopefully I love the movie. Then I go write a review on it. And then I got to shoot it. And then I got to edit it. And then I got to get up and do a podcast. And then I got to make sure my Instagram, I'm doing, and it's like, it overwhelms you. So like, I'm trying to not get overwhelmed, because when everybody does it. If they get too overwhelmed, then you don't accomplish anything. So I'm trying to figure out right now, like this week is my big organization week of like, what do I do? Like I'm dropping the podcast down to once a week instead of twice a week, because I only had one thing doing during Christmas, because it was like, we weren't shooting anything. I was like, oh, I'll just do a bunch of podcasts. Well, now it's a two podcasts a week. It's too much. Like
twice a week is real ambitious. That's a lot to put on yourself.
And I did. And then to do video podcasts. So I was doing 4K, and I like dropped everything down to HD, because it's like bogging even my new computer down, and you're feeding it. It's like data. And I'm like, Jesus. And then it's like, okay, now I got to shoot. I haven't even done the film review for 1917 yet. And I want to do 6 Underground,
Where do you post those to?
YouTube channel. So then I'm trying to build a YouTube channel with the podcast, because it helps supplement for the video. And then it'll be film reviews. And then eventually down the road, it'll be filmmaking with tech,
like tutorials and stuff.
Tutorials, kind of like, and it's like, because it's like you can't just start doing it right away. It's like, what am I gonna start renting shit now every week? And like that costs money. And then it's like, well, we're not shooting every week. Now, and then when I am DPing for you, I can't run around with a camera and be like, hey guy, like you saw me and I saw you. You can't just be like, vlog number whatever, check it out, boys. I'm waiting for my light setup.
In a perfect world, it'd be so cool.
It'd be so cool, but you don't. Like you have to have somebody running around, and then you have to and then you got to edit that footage. And there's so much to it that it's, and not only that, once you get it all together and say you do accomplish those things, how many people does it reach? So now you're trying to do the analytics and study of Instagram, YouTube, and podcasting, because you don't want it to be in vain, because you love what you do, but you also don't want to burn yourself out and not show any progress for it.
And it's easy to do that when you're not seeing the fruits of your labor. Even if those fruits to you are views. If you're putting out all this content, and you're getting double-digit views on stuff. It gets tiring after a while.
It does, because now in 2 years from now, am I still getting only 20 views on my after doing 100 episodes? So, but you still do it because you love it. Like I love podcasting and doing all this, so I'm going to keep doing it. But it's also, what extent amount of time does it take up in your day? Is it earning a pay? Because you have to think financially and commercially, like you always do. And people that say, and I agree with people that say, well, do what you love. Like, yes, do what you love, but you can't go 5 years and not show profit, or 5 years without sustaining, if that makes sense. And it's like, then you got to supplement, you got to figure something out. Like fortunate enough, like I did things, I had another life before this where I've had benefits that can result in me staying home. But it's not like we're living high off the hog either, though. So it's like,
but you came back to filmmaking is what's important.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like there's things that I have in place that are like, it's not a lot, but it breaks me even. You know, keeps my wife happy and sane.
Yeah.
And we break even on my side of the house, and that's good. And then I can pursue things even if I'm not making money. I can still provide, or at least get the bare minimums taken care of. Which in life, like I've done enough to where like bills and financials, dude, they will sink you.
Oh yeah.
If you cannot manage, or if it gets like, you got to be able to know, you know, like you got to cut this out of your life, you got to do this. And sometimes it just comes down to survival.
Yeah.
You know, you will, like I was doing Amazon Flex, like the whole gamut, about a year and a half before I deployed. It was like rough, man. Like I'd paid just enough to get my truck paid. And then 2 weeks later, I'd scrounge enough to get my rent paid and start it all over again.
Busting ass just to break even.
Yep. Credit card was maxed out, so I couldn't even like spend shit on my credit card, you know?
Man.
So then I was paying minimum on the credit card. Yeah. And it was every month, cell phone bill coming, boom. Oh shit. All right. Got to do this. And I don't know how the fuck I did it. I did it. You know, big shout out to Adam Geist, but I was his primary editor, and he had enough work coming in but even then it was scratching by though. You don't get paid you don't get paid once a month. You get paid maybe, you know, in 60 days net, 90 day net, you know, and so you got to go out and you got to hustle to get whatever you can pay your bills to get to the next month.
So balancing act.
Dude, it sucked. It sucked. And I think it was just more of a kick in the balls because I came from contracting, came from the world of like, I'd work for 3 months and not have to work for a whole year.
Coast
to the next contract. And I was like traveling in between and doing whatever the hell I wanted. So I go from that life to film school to like just being broke, and you're like, fuck. And now you're like, oh man, I'll have to do one contract. But then, you know, you have life and you have to move forward with it. Like turning down contracting into leaving that life behind was like hard, not because I wanted to, but because logically it makes sense. Yeah. Logically it makes sense for me to drop everything, work for a year, and come back with $120,000 after taxes. Yeah. Logically that makes sense, but you don't, because it doesn't work in the life plan. So it's tough. And then you know, I compromised with my wife and everything. So yeah, man, it's like, so like when you dive into it, it's more than just like, I always love it, and I say, Adam Olson said this. It was the end of our first year. Yeah. And we're sitting there in editing, or in video production one or whatever. Yep. And he's sitting there and he goes, well, it's the end of the course. And he goes, some of you, he goes, never see again. Never too late to become an accountant. He straight up, he's like, this is a very hard job. And he goes, some of you I'll never see again. He goes, you're not going to make it. And it's hard. It's very hard. Yeah. And never too late to switch degrees, you know, and like people were like, what the fuck is he saying? He's like, right. And I was just sitting there in the back like, tell him how hard it is, you know, because
it's real though. Like, it's real. It is,
yeah. And I like thrive off of that, because like it's just most of my life I've been like that. It's like, you are here because you are the very few people that will pull the trigger and keep moving. Yeah. Like you can tell the difference between people that are, I think I'm gonna be like, well, film class, that seems kind of fun. Right. Let's watch Citizen Kane and write a report about it. Yeah. And then they kind of dive in like, that would be like in a fantasy. And then you see the people that are like, this is what I do, this is my life, and come hell or high water, I'm doing it. You know, and you can always tell the difference of people in film school that are just kind of moseying on in. Definitely. And the people that are there to like go after it. Yeah. So yeah.
No, it was a couple of the greatest years of my life. Oh, I learned a lot.
It's so much fun.
Glad I'm stuck with it. Glad I'm done with it. But also still would love to be a student again at some point in my life. Yeah. And I know a lot of people are like, man, that ship has sailed. I'm so done with school. And for me, it's like I loved that structure.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing with us, like creative freelancers, is structure. Yeah. Structure is so hard. Like right now I'm struggling with structure. Yeah. I need to structure my schedule.
Me too.
And like I have all day. And people are like, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell I do with my day, because I get up, I work out, and then I work on all this, and I don't feel like I accomplish anything. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I try to create goal lists.
To-do lists, goal lists. They work wonders.
And they work great. Yeah. And it's like just getting the handle on that. Granted, I think we're coming off of Christmas holidays, so it's like everything was scattered-brained. Anyways, so
it's always a little slow moving after the first of the year.
Exactly. But I miss my biggest thing was, I guess, writing. Like I miss writing. Yeah. I used to write all the time, and I still try to once in a while, but now it's like I don't want to write in my free time because I should be editing and recording in my free time. Sure. Whereas film school, like with Jeremy's classes, like I wrote my first scripts, and I wrote like real like honed in screenplays that were finished products. And it was like amazing. Yeah. Like finishing my first Like it was actually kind of funny. Like I think like when we had our friends in screenplay that were in screenwriting, and I finished my script before theirs, and they never, or some of them never did. You know, they never like, yeah, I just never finished that script, and they've never written, and they were screenwriters.
Damn.
And to like have like, I was like, this is mine, like it's done.
Yeah.
You know, and the ending's okay, it's wonky.
Yeah.
But whatever, it's done. And
Full
it's
feature.
Full feature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I have my first copy of it, like my first one, and Jeremy tore it all up.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but I still have it, and I signed it, and I like have it, you know,
Oh man, that's
just
awesome.
for fun. I think I have it somewhere in here, but yeah, it's like,
It's never too late to dust that off. And I mean, sometimes it's also cool
Well, it's
to
just
be like,
sentimental.
time to move on.
yeah,
But
sentimental. Yeah, it's just,
yeah.
it's all it is. And I think I did a few more drafts after,
Nice.
but nothing because I didn't need to anymore. So that pursuit, that kind of goes away.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're trying to like I love to write direct. So it's like I have a few ideas I'd love to like write down, but like I don't have the time, or at least right now in my head I'm too scatterbrained to be like, all right, now it's time to write a fucking TV series. You know, like I don't
Right.
have that. But even those screenwriters sit down every day for
Yeah.
8 hours a day, and they just
It's a job.
it's a job.
Yeah.
It's a job. So I mean, it's awesome, but it's man, it's a hard life. Like, and even if you make it, it's still a hard life.
Oh yeah.
You know, like even
Yeah.
the filmmakers that I love listening to people in the industry that are a little jaded because
Yeah.
it's the most
A
realistic.
lot of them are.
It's almost the realest point. Like you can't listen to like Brad Pitt or Johnny Depp or fucking Tarantino, or you can't
They're
listen.
not the majority.
They're not the majority. In fact, you got to listen to the guy that directed the 125th episode of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yep.
that's the guy to talk to. You know, he was the director. He's, you know, those, you know, or whoever directed the 4th season of Charmed.
The second AD on some canceled Fox TV show
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that. It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
these are the people that are going to probably have the realest industry
real
insight
stories,
because
like-
they've cut their teeth
Yep.
and they've hustled to. Yeah, man, it's.
Yeah.
I think it's such a fun industry for me at least because
Yeah.
there's no direct point A to point B. You know?
Yeah.
It's not like once you have your
Nope.
degree, it's like boom, you got a stamp and here's your job and here's
Yep.
you know there's really a lot of problem solving and
Mm-hmm.
you know navigating the waves and like how do I get to where I want to be, and I enjoy that. I think it's fun. It's like it's
Yeah.
a constant puzzle.
Yep.
But no, I think we're both in good places. And
Yeah.
as long as this is what we want to do, you know,
Yep.
shit, keep doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's,
I mean, you got a feature. That's badass. That's
Yeah.
as someone who calls himself a cinematographer.
Yeah.
You've got a feature film script. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of other people that can say that.
yeah. And that's what I always like love that. And I even have a few pilot scripts that are finished too, that are
Yeah.
like honed in and completed.
That's badass.
And I've started a bunch of screenplays. I have a ton of screenplays that are about 30 pages in, and that's as far as I
Nice.
get, and then I stop because it's enough to like get my idea out, and then
that first act.
it's that first act, and then after that, it's kind of like why come back to it, you know? Because this is and there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm not a screenwriter, so
Yeah.
it doesn't benefit me to kill myself to write 3 screenplays because I'm not a
Right.
screenwriter. You know, it's like a screenwriter focusing on trying to make YouTube videos when he should be writing. If that makes sense, you know, like I need to
get
focus on you. Yeah, yeah. So it's like,
Like, I enjoy writing.
yeah, I love writing so much. But
I
yeah.
just don't do it as much as I know I should. And again, like you, I want to get back into it.
Yeah.
But as far as like the circle of filmmakers that I kind of roll with, and now we're fortunate to kind of have you in that circle.
Yeah.
We're the most like top heavy on writers. And so I'm a big proponent of letting people do what they want to do on set.
Yeah.
You want to be an AD, you're the AD. You want to shoot it, you want to shoot it. Like
Yeah.
if you can deliver, I want to put you in the place you want to be in.
Yeah.
And so if I got a bunch of writers that want to write,
Yeah.
I don't want to take that work away and be like, well, I'm going to,
Yeah, exactly.
shoehorn my way in and write this. It's like, I want to
Yeah.
direct.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to be a team player and play like a position role doing something other than directing.
Yeah.
But like, that's where I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, same. And like I'm with you. Like I'd love to take on like I said what you guys have done, and it's cool to see that amount of effort though come
Yep.
out of such a small crew, and they stuck with they traded it as I guess that was I'm glad I did it because I know that there's people out there that treat it with like, no, I shouldn't say respect, but treat it with the levity that it needs to be treated with, you know?
Yeah.
Like they were like, well, if we do this, because even I brought up stuff, I was like, wait a minute, is Robo Dave supposed to be in the back there? And there's 3 other people being like, you're right. And then Annie comes like, no,
Totally.
you're wrong. And he needs to be back there. And this is why this, and this. And I'm like, cool. Because I've only read the script once. you know, and I'm like, you know, like I read the script. Cool. My job is to light this. Like, you know, that's your job in the script department. And I only bring shit up that I think might be wrong. Yeah, or not wrong, but like, am I doing it right? What's up, Rids? Come on, bud.
Mistakes are always going to be made.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it's
well, no, that's what I
inevitable.
mean. Like, it was great. Like you said, you had them on set where if I had a question, they answered it, and then I didn't think about it anymore. You know, because I don't want to be the cinematographer being like, oh, I knew that was wrong. I was going to say something, but now our film's fucked up because there's one really big incontinuity going on, and so they like fix it right away. And by that point, people get delusional. So like,
oh yeah,
everybody
by
has
day
blinders
3,
on.
man.
Day 3, everyone has blinders on to do their job.
Yeah.
And you have to make, and there has to be that one person, which you guys did, who was dedicated to the script, you know.
And I was super fortunate of
You want to get here? Let me go. Keep talking. Go ahead.
yeah. No, I was just super fortunate we had the people we did. Because yeah, it's like when those mistakes are made, at least you have people that can kind of catch it. Because it's like I'm not perfect.
He starts limping. He's like you've been laying down all day.
A little over dramatic.
Oh god, yeah, he's super dramatic. He's such a bitch. Yeah, he's so baby. So I'm talking about our dog Ridley. Ridley has made an appearance a few times on the podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a baby. Yeah.
He's got a good face for the camera.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, he's just he snuggles. He's awesome. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, what were we talking about?
Oh, we're talking about the
just
people
like
in their
having,
roles. Yeah.
Yeah, good people in good places and stuff. Yeah, man, I think you know, Robo Dave, it's another box checked. We got done. Our work's still not finished, but we were kind of talking about what's next earlier and how that's something we both kind of fear a little bit. Mm-hmm. Our next project, working together, just kind of spitballing, just riffing here.
Yeah.
What do you want to work on next, and what do you see yourself doing on that production?
I'd love the DP again because I love doing that. I think what would be cool is to be involved a little more in story, but not help write. But I'd love to do something action oriented, only because
I would love that.
To me, those are the toughest projects to take on, the hardest to execute, especially as a small filmmakers. Yeah. You always, and like what you did was tough too, like the comedy. See, like I hate short films that are drama, personal pieces that are dialogue.
Yeah.
Because they're not challenging.
Right.
What you did was comedy driven by personal dialogue, but you had gags. And there was like real, and you also had real time changes. We went day for night, night for day. Did a party scene, and we shot in a basement. We did a lab. We shot, even though it was 2 locations, like we made the locations work for ourselves.
Yeah.
And even if like people were like, you have the A for effort, because at least, and then I did what I could with the lighting and the angles and to make the movement look good.
Oh, 100%.
So that's why we all came together, and that's why I was happy, because it was a challenge. Like, you can watch and be like, that's not a challenge. No, it was a challenge. Like, it was a real challenge to do Robo Dave. It really was.
And a challenge to get like 7 minutes of content.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people look at us and they're like, you guys are insane.
Yeah.
And it's in ways, we probably are.
Yeah.
But it's like, as long as we
but
like
that's your
it,
life, though. Yeah.
we walk away and we want to do it again. That's what's important. If the thing, I guess I probably fear more than anything is walking away and not wanting to do it again.
Yeah.
You know, what could possibly push me over the edge where it's like, I'm done with filmmaking.
Exactly.
And I still haven't had that experience yet.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate of it, you know?
I think a lot of people now, granted, this is not me, I have no knowledge of this. I've heard of people walking away from it only in the Hollywood system because they hate it so much. Yeah. Because of the bureaucracy, the producers, the money gets involved, the studio. And I don't, hopefully I get to the point where I hope I get to the point where I hate it. Like that would actually, but at that level, but I agree with you, not at this level. Like, I don't want to walk away from a short film and be like, I'll never shoot another frame again. You know, like, I don't think that'll happen because we have such control now over what we do. Like I said, I can take 3 people and go shoot a commercial the next day and feel better about myself. You know, if I have a shit weekend of shooting, like, God, that was a terrible short film. Okay, I'll move on to the next one, and I'll just never work with those people again. You know,
right?
That's what it comes down to.
You live and learn.
You just live and learn, and you move forward. You know, and you know, and you're just like, yep, nope, I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
Or work with them again, opposed to never doing the job again. But yeah, I would say for us to like, if you guys want to tackle one, it would be an action short with coordination. Like, honestly, like coordination, and then after that, I think I'd just say, like, I would almost even though I'm not the director or writer, like, for me as a DP, but aspiring film director, because that's my ultimate.
Yeah.
film directing, not even a cinematographer, but a film director,
Right.
would be like action, and then moving on to a sci-fi short, like a Blade Runner,
Yeah.
something that's character driven, but requires visual effects that are noticeable and not noticeable. You know,
Sure,
like
sure.
I'd like to have screens that pop up, you know, that are out of focus. Things like you have your tablet, your things that pop up that aren't like, look, we just did After Effects, but something that's just playing in the background. Seeing the billboard.
Goes back to set design,
Set
production design.
exactly.
Yeah, that stuff is really
and
cool.
then having the world built, and then not only having the world built, but having somebody understand that world.
Yeah.
Like Blade Runner 2049, I loved. Like it took me back. Like I saw it in the theater. And it rarely happens, and it happened with 1917, but it rarely happens in films today where I watch something and it takes me back to how I felt as a kid.
Yeah.
And there's one or two scenes in there that really took me back to when I was a kid. And the one was when he's in his studio apartment, and he has his girlfriend. I can't remember what her name was. It's the robot, but it's a projection hologram.
From the first one?
No, from the second film, 2049.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
I
Oh,
haven't.
dude.
I
Yeah.
haven't.
It's so good. It's got Ryan Gosling. He's just like, he
No, I'm
sits
familiar.
down and she's talking to him, and it's a hologram. And like, because he's a robot, it's not a spoiler, he's a robot.
Sure.
You know, and he's a replicant hunting other replicants. And he just like sits down, he's having this meal, and he's like trying to like feel human. That's obviously the theme of the film.
Sure.
And it was just such like a cool scene where it's like crazy because this AI robot is like, you feel like it's trying to, because they know each other so well, because he's owned her. Like if it's had basically like the game, you know, this not video game, but like this product for so long that they know each other very well. And she's trying to like reach him emotionally, but it's all programming. But then you're like, how much is programming, how much is emotion? So it's all blurred lines. And he's a replicant, so he's a robot, and they play out as if they're a real like a real couple. So he makes things like, because he doesn't need to eat. She's like, oh, I made your favorite, and they're like, they don't. It's just the soup, but then she pretends it's like steak or something, you know. So it's like in holograms. Yeah, it's just awesomely shot.
Weird. I gotta check it out.
It's wild. It's good. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. And
speaking of cool sci-fi,
yeah.
You know, not to derail this too
No,
much.
no.
You ever seen Wreck-It Ralph?
Yes, I didn't see the second one. I saw the first one though.
Dude, I'm late to the game, but I watched Wreck-It Ralph last week, and man, I watched Wreck-It Ralph 2 last night for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about production design and animation.
Yeah.
The stuff that's going on in the background, like when he goes from the arcade world into the World Wide Web, it's nuts. You've got all these advertisements and cyber software and streaming services and film stuff like popping up in the background, and it's so immense. And I looked this up, and I'm thinking, wow, this is. I mean, it's Disney, so you know it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
But like $165 million budget.
Yep.
You know,
Animated
film, like that's crazy.
I feel like there's such like a built-in budget / guarantee of payback on those. You know what I mean? Like you almost feel like when they go, now they got to make it good by all means, and the story in it. But I also feel like we're gonna do an animated film. Like you're almost, unless it's so shitty, which by the way there are ones out there that try to capitalize. But if you focus on story and you give it like 2 years to make, really hone it in, you're guaranteed to make your money back. You're at least guaranteed to break even, I feel. Now there's a few they've thrown out there, and you could tell they did the animation in 6 months. It was a quick cash grab and it failed. But there's ones you can see they did a quick animation cash grab and they made money. You know what I mean? Like, and so you're like, but the Disney ones are almost guaranteed to make money every single time.
Well, and I don't think Wreck-It Ralph was Pixar, but it had that kind of feel. It might have been.
Well, it's Disney Pixar. They own it.
Disney Pixar.
Yeah, Disney owns Pixar.
But they've got their own, like Disney now does computer animated films that aren't necessarily under the Pixar brand, I'm pretty sure.
You might be right. Yeah, you're right, because I don't think Frozen isn't
Frozen's not
Pixar.
I don't think so.
I think it is. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it is.
But like Pixar, they don't make bad movies.
No, they don't.
I mean, those are movies for kids and adults.
They are. They're good as fuck.
Yeah, they're super good.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Pixar movie?
Favorite Pixar? Oh man, you'd have to like go through and run the list, because I could tell you.
There's a big list now.
There's a big list, but I'm trying to think out like what Pixar one would be, because I know there's awesome animated films that I love that are Pixar. Oh, probably Monsters University.
Monsters University,
even though it's the prequel to Monsters Inc.
It's so good though.
Yeah, you'd have if you showed me the list, I could pick out the one that I like the favorite, but I can't think of that now. But Monsters University, I watched that like 2 weeks ago because we got Disney Plus.
Nice. Yeah, I just got on that train too.
Yeah, I live Verizon because I have Verizon Unlimited. So
Yep.
I have it free for a year. So we're like, all right, cool, we'll watch it. You know, so then we started like going through it, and Amanda started watching and we both started watching old 80s, 90s Disney films. So we like. I mean, I walk in, she was watching Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Nice.
You know, so I walk in, she's like watching that. I'm like, oh, cool.
Sad movie too.
Yeah, right, dude. Horrific too. Like
a lot of those movies had really adult themes, and it's like
time.
you look back at them like some of those movies you haven't seen in like 20 years or something since you were a little kid.
Dude, it's harsh as shit.
Man, they're sad. Like,
yeah.
And that whole Toy Story, like, I loved Toy Story as a little kid, quoted as a little kid, and then you follow the journey through like Toy Story 3 and Andy coming home, and it's like, oh man,
dude, they almost all die in Toy Story 3.
Yeah, like it's some adult shit.
Yep. Oh yeah, and then there was God, what was it? Oh, like granted, this wasn't anime, it wasn't Disney, but Land Before Time.
Yeah,
dude, that's some harsh ass shit.
A movie I haven't
His
thought of in a
mother
long time.
dies, and she keeps coming back to him to like get back with the tribe. You know what I mean? Like to get back with his herd, and you're just like, he just keeps chasing her like image, and you're like, Jesus Christ, like,
right?
Dude, this is a kid's movie.
It's dark stuff.
It's dark.
But I think if you can walk that line where you can make family-friendly content with stuff that kids will like, but then parents can also take away stuff that's going to go way over the kid's head.
Oh, yeah.
But you're not doing stuff that's like sexually explicit or super violent. And I think like, even though I love like a good Scorsese film, you know, like with Robo Dave, I wanted to make something that could show to little cousins, and people could show to their kids and nieces and nephews, and it's like, but also still has a message for an adult audience. Yeah, and I think that's the big challenge. But
it is.
It was a challenge that I wanted to try to take on.
Yeah, no, and that's the beauty about filmmaking is that, you know, and you at the final end you see if you succeed or not.
Right.
Like that's why I was like pretentious filmmakers are like, no, you didn't get the point. I was like, no, you're not good enough to get the point across.
Yeah.
You know, and I always feel like somebody has one good hit and then they go off and they think they can keep repeating, and they can't. You know, and there's nothing wrong with having your one hit wonder and then making good films after that, but to keep thinking that you're this pretentious, or if you're this content, or you know, that you're like, oh, every film I do is like this. It's like, no, it's just, you just suck at telling stories. You know, like you hit it once, that was great. Now maybe you should try something else, and then maybe come back to it again and take time. You know, I mean, to me, like, I know this is super unpopular, but me, Christopher Nolan is that guy. Yeah. I think he's one of the most overrated film directors of all time.
I'm not a big fan of either.
Yeah. And like, by the way, he hit it on the nose with, but does anybody know his career before Batman Begins?
I mean, he had that film school on the
Memento.
Well, before that, didn't he do Following?
Oh, I don't know about Following. I don't know.
I think that was like his black and white one that was like all of his friends and stuff from, I think it was Christopher Nolan. The first thing I ever saw of his was Insomnia.
Yeah, Insomnia. That's what I was gonna bring up. Insomnia.
That movie still holds up.
Yeah, good. It's a good film. Nothing to do with whatever he's doing now. You know what I mean? Like none of this like Inception, Tenet. Because a new film coming out, Tenet, they're like, they spent $200 million, and I saw the trailer. Yeah. Like there's nothing in that movie that costs $200 million. Right. Like, and the same with like Batman Begins, to me, is still the best overall film out of the trilogy.
I agree.
Opposed to Dark Knight, because you could tell that as much as filmmakers hate producers and hate the editors and then that collaboration process, you see where it goes off the rails when the film director has too much power. And that reflects in it reflected in Dark Knight Rises, because that was to me it was such a garbage film. And Dark Knight is really good, but you can see where he starts to pull away because he thinks his writing is, and not to say maybe he doesn't, I don't know, but at one point somebody goes, don't worry about it, the story's so good it'll compensate for the framing, compensate for the editing, compensate for the every single subplot that shouldn't have been there or that wasn't done right.
Well, and Dark Knight was almost the first Joker film. You know, Batman kind of took backseat to the Joker character, Heath Ledger.
Yeah,
I mean,
which, amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. But even like the Harvey Dent shit in the end, like that came out of nowhere, and people are like, "Why the hell?" And then he like comes a good guy, arcs the bad guy, and dies. And you're like, why did you even try to do?
What was the point of the turn?
What was the point of this?
Yeah,
and even you know, and it's just, and you can even see it. Like, I guess my frustration as a filmmaker / cinematographer is you see, and as an editor, because I love editing too, is you see the fight scenes from Batman Begins, which are really good, but they're edited tightly. They're commercialized. You can see that they don't know how this experiment's going to work.
Yeah.
And then you go to, and they're like, oh, successful. And then you go to Dark Knight, where he starts like beating himself off because he's doing IMAX. You know, he's like, don't worry, we're doing it on IMAX.
Yeah.
And then you see the fight scenes, and you're like, this is it. It looks like a really bad student film choreography.
Yeah.
And it just kills it. And even like the chase scenes with the vehicles are lackluster. They try to make it bigger than it is, and it's not good enough. And and I can see it with Tenet. Like, Tenet sounds really cool. This time travel type, something to do with time travel, where like things are basically, they can see time travel, or people can go back in time or something like that within a moment. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look good. Like, they have a car crash. It looks like it's a really shitty car commercial. Like, it's just not good looking.
That kind of stuff bums me out.
It bums me out because I'm like, oh, write it. Give it to another film director that's hungry, because they'll make it look good. Like,
well,
you're
that's
just
hungry.
being
That's the
pretentious.
key word. Like, it's like people like
Now
us
you're just
we got to
Yeah.
work to like get on set, and you know, got to have these side hustles and day jobs and stuff like that. It's like, the beautiful thing about Wikipedia is you can see the budget of any feature film, basically.
Yeah.
It's like you pull that up and you see, oh, this movie was made on $200 million.
Yeah.
It really makes you think, like, if $200 million, someone just gave that to me.
Yeah.
It's like, I can make a better movie.
Yeah.
And it's easy to kind of
Yeah.
say that, but sometimes I feel like it's really true.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And that's what I mean. It's just like, and again, like, he's obviously earned his way through with stuff, but it's just like, Inception is not as good as people think. Like,
I'm not trying to say I'm better than Christopher
No,
Nolan
by no means. Like, the dude earned his place. But I'm saying
Definitely.
but like, Inception, I was just like, this is weird. I shouldn't say it doesn't make sense. They're diving into people's dreams, but I was like, what they're doing, like, the concept was really cool.
Definitely.
The execution to me was super lackluster.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was like, oh, this is so deep. It's like, no, it's not that deep. Like, I get that what they're doing with the layers, but never once have there ever been any rules in dreams. What you took out of what could have been amazing potential within dreams is dreams are not structured. You turn dreams into structure.
Yep.
Doesn't make sense. And dreams can influence, but they don't influence you that much. It's like he was trying to take too much of the subconscious or whatever. And it's just like, but like I said, it's like people just keep being like, you're so great, Nolan. It's like, no, you're not. Like, you do, just chill the fuck out. Like, somebody should be like, no, you're only getting 50 million. No, make it work.
Yeah.
By the way, you're not shooting on 70 millimeter anymore. Get that shit out of your head. Because I saw Dunkirk, man, and that shit was not cool. I mean, it was just like, you watch it, I'm like, this is the most boring war film I've ever watched in my life.
Really?
God, it was boring.
That bums me out to hear, because I didn't see that one, but
it was not good.
I always loved seeing like dogfights in film.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's something that's not done well
It
enough.
wasn't
in
done
a lot
well
of,
in that film.
Really?
Dogfighting was not done well in that film.
I'd have to pass on it.
Yeah,
then.
you pass on it. Yeah, that's done. Yeah, it's stupid. It's just, it was, again, but everybody hypes it up, and they're just like, he's shooting on 70 millimeter IMAX, and oh my God, it's Nolan. And you're just like, this isn't good. Like,
He's
I don't
doing it 'cause
understand.
he can.
He
Like-
can, though. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I mean, if you want to do it, do it. That's where they like, actually, the camera turns sideways because the film strips are so big that they have to run it like laterally.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't come down like this. It comes like this. Yeah.
Jeez, that's
Or something
crazy.
like that. It's something where if you ever see it, the film can is sideways, and it's not up and down like traditional, because it has to roll a certain way. Yeah. And they only get I think they only get 7 minutes a take, and it literally eats through the whole thing.
That's insane.
And it's ungodly huge.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. And by the way, Interstellar, halfway decent. I'll give them that. But even then, it was just a little too much. Like, you're just like, you're doing a little too much here, man.
Yeah.
You're trying to be deep. And he's one of those guys who's like, oh, this is going to be so deep. Oh, it's going to be him telling his daughter that he's going through this time dimensional warp thing. And it's just like, no.
Yeah.
No. Like,
And you
dude.
don't need a bunch of money to be deep.
No, not at all.
Like, you can shoot something on your cell phone, and if it's got a good enough story
Yeah.
like that, it will come through.
Exactly.
And I think that's important for people to know. You know, once you're fresh out of school, you shouldn't strive to be the next Spielberg or the next Christopher Nolan. You should make what you can make with what you have in front of you. And I think that's something where it's I think it's fun to talk about what we want to work on in the future, because for me, I would love to dive into a feature with my friends. I would love to commit to something like that. I'm not quite there right now. It's just because, not that I'm not there mentally, I don't have the right script isn't in front of me.
Yeah.
but I don't want to spend like 6 months making another short, you know?
Yeah.
And that to me, it's like I would rather turn out, you know, more short films in volume rather than just make 1 or 2 short films a year.
So you rather do volume over, or
Yeah, I think filmmaking is one of the few things where sometimes I value the people who do the quantity over quality. That's why Samuel L. Jackson's one of my favorite actors, because he's been in everything.
Yeah.
You know, to these terrible C movies to some blockbusters, but he's made a career off of, you know, not saying no and just being him and doing what he wants to do, and it's came through.
Yeah.
And it's like I'd rather see a filmmaker, you know, who's constantly putting out stuff, has a big body of work, than someone who puts out one blockbuster every 5 years. You know? And there's a common ground. I don't want to be making shitty stuff just to say I made it.
Exactly.
But maybe, you know, try to make a short film a month or something like that. You know.
See, I think I would break it down to every quarter. I'm
Every
with you
quarter,
on that. Every quarter, so four every 3 months.
Yeah.
Because I think now that you'll split quantity with quality.
True.
Because then you'll like, you're right. You just ended.
You don't want to sacrifice the quality.
Exactly.
You know, you don't want to intentionally make bad stuff, because then you're, you know, then you're not moving forward.
Because if you think about it now, let's say we just wrap in January, right?
Yep.
The next time we should shoot is April.
Yeah, and that's kind of already what the
that
plan
gives us
is.
3 months. Write a script the first month, pre-plan the second into whatever month, and then it gives everybody being like, okay, let's all chip in, and we're gonna do this. And then you could be like, okay, and now we'll shoot the next one in July, August, you know, and then finish up in December, or whatever, however you want to shoot it. Because I think what you guys did was great. And then even though you pre-planned 6 months, but now you've done it, now you should pre-plan 3 months, come up with an idea, and then you can get 2-3 ideas out a year that are quality.
And maybe not such a big idea, you know, maybe rather than doing a 15-page script or some whatever it may be, you know, try to make one page look as good as you can.
Yeah.
You know, or make 6 pages look as good as you can.
Exactly.
Rather than just trying to, you know, get it out there.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think the idea of doing quarterly films it's smart. It's a good direction to move in. And I think it allows people to feel more of a sense of accomplishment. I think when you're only making one film a year, people worry about, you know, what if this is the last one? What if I fuck it up and I don't get invited on set again or something like that? Where it's like, if you're doing it 4, 5, 6 a year, you know there's going to be another one.
Exactly.
You've always got something to look forward to.
Well, one of the things that podcasts I listen to, the Indie Film Hustle podcast, and he was actually brought up good points, and he's been in the industry out in California, and he's all about the indie film. Almost exactly what we're doing, but maybe like 10, 15 years ahead. So, you know, he grew up in the 90s, early 2000s, like, you know, technology in itself has lended a giant hand to us, especially your gen. I mean, you're, you know, 5, 6 years younger than I am. Well, more than that. I think you're like 7 years younger than me, aren't you?
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, so your generation, definitely. My generation, for sure. Like, if I had gone to film school, I'd be at the mercy of film, but emerging digital technology. So by the time I finished film school, Reds would have been out. If I look back and say I did go to USC, the Reds would have been out. The new Canon 5D Mark 1s or 2s were out. And that giant leap into digital happened. It wasn't the best, but it was there. And it was within the grasp of the filmmaker. And we all went to film school in 2014 as we started.
Yeah, very much digital age.
Yeah, which is then 5 years later for me. Like, say if I'm trying to do my timeline, but then that's when I jumped in. But for like even for you younger guys, that's amazing, because you think of the film, you're like, oh, film, but what lights are we using? LEDs, aperture lights,
right?
What is it? I mean, we rented those. You know, one we rented for $30, and then I own the other ones, and we can gather friends with high quality lights that we control with our cell phones. And so you're thinking of all this technology coming together.
It's gotten so much more affordable and so much more user friendly,
and it looks good. The TRIC or the TRCI rating or whatever are high, so there's no like LEDs are low quality. No, they're very good quality. They're low amperage. We can afford them. We can shoot with them. They're on all day. We control them with our cell phones. We can create effects.
I'm a big fan of those lights.
Oh God, yeah. And then on top of that, we went through, you know, and then with film, we're not even shooting 16mm or 35. So that means that we got all the takes we wanted. We're eating. The only thing is we're eating up data.
Right.
And that's it. And like,
you're not sending rolls off to transfer shops or anything. We had a DIT station set up in the basement. when we'd fill up a mag,
Exactly.
we'd get a new one. When we needed a battery change, we get a new one.
Exactly.
It's
Yep.
things move a lot quicker now.
Yep. And the quality's there. We have RAW, and we're even shooting RAW. We weren't even shooting
Yeah.
ProRes. We're shooting RAW. ProRes is a great codec too.
Yep.
We're shooting RAW, so we have the latitudes and everything we need. So it's such an awesome place to be that now.
Definitely.
And then visual effects, you can hire somebody or find some kid that's good at it. Like, hey man, I'll give you $100. He's like, cool, and he'll just turn it around for you.
Yeah.
You're not trying to go to Splice or these visual effects houses where only people with like tens and thousands of dollars could even back 10 years ago could afford.
Yeah.
Like your short film looks like shit because you decided to do it yourself like
Right.
10 years ago, where it's on an HD camera. It's like you're not even using a real lens, you're using your high digital, and you're trying to create some fucking background. Dude, I did all that, and that
Yeah.
was in 2004.
Yeah.
And so
It's not that long ago.
no,
when
it's
you
not
think
that
about
long,
it.
and so it's a whole leaps forward.
Right.
But that's what's cool about like I said, like doing like I think quarterly or doing something where to challenge yourself enough to make something dramatic within the 6 minutes, then shift to comedy, and then shift to this, because I think doing all of those can give you the pedigree of being like, and then when you do throw together a feature, like say
Yeah.
maybe in a year we should tackle a feature.
Right.
Maybe in a year we say we all take a month off and we're willing to take a hit and being like, this is it.
It's a big goal for me. It's
Yeah.
something I got to do.
Yeah, and though you don't have to do a month, maybe 2
Yeah.
weeks, maybe a week. What can you get done in a week? Maybe
Right.
start with that.
Yeah.
Or maybe just say fuck it, 2 weeks. Just and that, honestly, that confidence is, hey, we're gonna do 2 weeks, and we really gotta hit it. But you also can't burn yourself out either.
Right. It's like why I love doing the 48-hour film festival every year,
Yeah.
because I really get to test myself and see
Yeah.
you get to see how good actually are we.
Yeah.
What can we pull together in 48 hours? And it's like you never walk out with something great because
Yeah.
of the parameters you're given.
Yeah.
But it's always fun because you get to see what you're capable of
Yep.
under that stress and pressure, and the stakes are relatively low.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think making 4 projects a year, it's a good goal. I mean, like we started off this podcast was saying, we've been out of school for basically 4 years,
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
It's like,
Sam,
shit, imagine if we would have made 16 films
Yeah.
between now and the time we got done with MCTC.
Yep.
How killer would that be?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, you're doing it anyways. I mean, like
Yeah.
the people
Yeah.
how many people aren't left standing at the end of the day? How many people
Right.
aren't doing what we're doing?
a lot of people
Yeah.
throwing the towel, and rightfully so.
And
It's-
rightfully
it's
so.
not for everybody.
No, yeah. And you really have to do it. I mean, like I said, luckily I knew from the get go, and like you knew from the get go, this is what you wanted to do with your life. And at least if you tried and failed, you knew. But you also know that now that you're doing it, you don't want to stop doing it. And
No.
it's also the hope of I don't have to move out to uplift my family to Hollywood to
Right.
make it.
Yeah.
I mean, you do not have to. Does it make the journey that much harder? 100%. It's like trying to climb
Oh, yeah.
Everest without the oxygen. You're like, fuck it, I'm gonna give it a shot. But,
Right.
the little Nepalese guys do pretty damn well, but
Yeah.
they live there. You know what I mean? So you can humanly possibly do it, but where do you draw the lines? Where do you sacrifice? Where do you kind of give up? Where do you give and take? And
Yeah.
how do you enter? And how do you enter is it's more democratized. Granted, there's more shit out there. Everybody
Yeah.
always bitches about the negative. They're like, well, there's so much now. Why do you even try? It's oversaturated. It was like,
Yeah.
well, it's always oversaturated. Look at the 90s. Most of those films were shit. Have you ever see the VHS era? How many times you walk through? How many times you go through Blockbuster and think, oh man, all of these are great films because they're from Hollywood.
Shitty direct-to-video
Yeah.
stuff, and
That's where they made most of their
TV
money.
movies. Yeah.
Direct to DVD made so much money back
Yeah.
in the day, and you didn't realize how
Tom
much.
Sizemore made a career off of it
Right,
after like
direct to
Saving
DVDs.
Private Ryan. Like, he
Where
was
he
in
was
every
on, like-
shitty war movie ever.
He was
Yeah.
on like on meth and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard he
Celebrity
did
Rehab.
I heard he did a UFC fighter movie where he's a
What?
UFC fighter and he fights in a shirt because he was so out of shape.
Oof, man, that's bad. That reminds me of
Brian-
Steven Seagal now. You know.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah, well, remember even like direct to DVDs, he was pumping out that
yeah.
content when I was in high school.
Oh, yeah.
He like rode the like Cradle to the Grave was like his last big Jet Li.
DMX.
Sorry, DMX
DMX.
and Jet Li in that one? Or was that just DMX?
No, I think Cradle to the Grave was
Just
Jet Li. Yeah.
Was he? Okay, so those
think
guys,
so.
that was the last wave, and he was like, I'm just going to keep riding this. Dude, it was only 2 years later. I remember being in the Marine PX and being like, fucking Steven Seagal. Like, I look at all these movies these days, I was like, these were not in the theater. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
and
no.
Dude, but they were murdering it in the direct-to-DVD game.
Yeah.
And people knew they would make their money back in a little bit. And that's all you need to in the industry.
Right.
Is make enough money back and to maybe pay your backers, pay you. Everyone walks away. You make a living. It's not high off the hog, but you get to move on to the next project.
Like Universal Soldier, I think that was his big franchise. Like, I don't know if any of those, that was Steven Seagal.
No. That was
Or was that Van Damme?
That was Van Damme, but that was in like the 80s. The first one.
The first one, but they did like 7 of those,
They
and
did.
like a bunch
Yeah,
of them
you're
went direct to video, and it's
direct to
like
video.
they kept making them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They didn't stop making
Yeah.
them, and it's like you said, they recouped their money, and it's like, fuck it, we'll do
We'll do
Universal
another one.
Soldier 12,
Well, you see National Lampoons, like all the shitty ones that came out. So they had like
American Pie.
Oh yeah, American Pie. Yeah, they kept coming out.
Yeah.
All direct to DVD. There was one called Dorm Days. It was a National Lampoon's Dorm Days, and I watched it, and it is horrendous. And
Yeah.
it was a bunch of kids that you saw in all the peripherals of like Euro Trip, American Pie. So all those characters were in it, like all the B characters that people were like, they're funny. They stuck them all in film, paid them low rate, you could tell.
Yeah.
And it looks like they shot the whole fucking thing in like a week. And it was
man.
terrible. And this was back when I was like, I just got in the Marine Corps, and I was like, Dorm Days, I'll watch. And it was so shitty.
Yeah.
But guess what? How many of my Marine buddies were like, that movie's so fucking funny?
loved it,
And
yeah.
I was sitting there, I'm like, this is one of the worst films I've ever seen. But like I said, it sold, and it made their money, and they walked away.
Well, it's not a movie that's made for people who make movies. You
Yeah,
know,
no, it's not. No,
it's
that's
just
true.
a general
That's true.
audience who wants
Yeah.
to watch something.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's for
Stupid.
someone in their dorms that's, you know, smoking a little weed or
Yeah,
something
the
like that.
apartment complex. Yeah, dorm. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, it's college now. Yeah, this is funny. And
Right.
then that's it. And they watch it, and that's it. And but they said they made their money. And I think that's where we are sitting in a good position. Even in Minnesota, even the Midwest, people in Ohio, people wherever, Iowa, like you can make a feature film, whether it's good or not. But I agree with you. I think it would be good to step into quality over quantity, hone the skills.
Yeah.
And then maybe next year, I think that would be a good goal for you /me / the team or whoever's involved. To be
Yeah,
like,
man.
Yeah, let's do, like a year from now, I have to go to Bullock, but so it'd be like summer of 2021. Yeah, or something. So a year and a half. Be
Yeah.
like, let's tackle 2 weeks feature.
I'm down, man.
Yeah, you know what I
Let's
mean?
Put it on the books.
Yeah, put it on the books, because then you do it and you're like,
Yeah.
like shit your pants and that's it. But then how much money you're spending on it, and that's
Right.
it. That's the next next step is, are we raising money, or is this something that we do it to say you did it? So part of me is like, why don't we just do it, no matter how shitty it is? You say made feature, cool. Next feature, raise 500,000.
Yeah.
Because do everything wrong, and then when money's on the line, do it right.
And do it wrong on your own terms. Don't do it
Yeah.
wrong with a bunch of
With other
financial
people's money.
backers.
Exactly.
That's where it gets nerve-wracking, because
Yeah.
then it's like, if you screw it up, now you got to pay these people back.
Yep. And there's nothing wrong.
Or they're expecting something.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with doing a feature and then remaking the feature again.
Yeah.
If you love it that much, be like, we did a fucking whole test run. You know what I mean? Be
Yeah.
like, how do you feel about this film? Oh, we made the movie.
Yeah.
And then we remade it
Right.
with money, with actors, with backers.
Yeah.
And knew our shots, knew our story, knew what people loved, knew what people hated. I mean,
True.
how many people could actually do that? I mean, there's only a few.
Yeah, I
there's
don't
actually
know.
some films out there that I think have actually done that.
Yeah, where they make one and it's like
Yeah.
shot in the can, and then they probably see the footage and
Yeah.
we shouldn't
Or
show that.
someone picks it up and then like that film director just remakes it again with the
Yeah,
studio.
I've
Almost.
definitely heard about similar things to that. I'm
Similar.
trying to
It's
think
like
of an example.
I think I could have swore that's happened. Not often, but it's once
Yeah.
in a while you hear something like that. But yeah, that's what I mean, man. It's awesome. It's a crazy way to think about it, but
Yeah.
it's like I said, my favorite is stepping in with you guys and being like, it almost like was a relief, because I don't. Again, I've been gone and I'm not in the narrative community, so jumping into the narrative community, which is where I really want to be.
Yeah.
And seeing people that are like, yeah, we want to do this, it's
Yeah.
such a like relief, because I focus more on the corporate and everything world, and I
Yeah.
kind of see from the sidelines people working on stuff, and then
Well, and you can still do that stuff on the sides to
Yeah.
pay the bills, but if narrative's where you want to be, I mean, man, we'd love to have you on board. That's
yeah, man,
As far
absolutely.
as far as I see it, you're part of the team now. So
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, I'll probably tap you guys for some stuff now. Now I'll just throw my ideas your way. And
Please do,
like, hey,
yeah.
let's do this, or like let's work on this and stuff. Because I know, even with Chuck, I think after this weekend too, Chuck's like a believer again a little bit. Even we're shooting his stuff this weekend,
This upcoming
weekend,
Okay.
yeah. And And I think Chris will be. I wish Chris was there because he would. I think it would turn him into a little more believer. We're all more skeptic / jaded, I guess, a little bit. I know I was, and I still kind of am, but I guess not so much jaded or skeptic. It's more of just realistic. And we've talked about certain things that have happened in our peripherals that make people jaded to the bit to what we do. And things that have happened, and that it's just like I don't want to walk into that. I'm not going to do that, or I don't. And if that's all this is, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Or if this all it is, then I'm barely going to be in the narrative world. You know, and you see that a lot. And God bless people for trying, but it almost feels like don't try, put it together, put something on the line, and then do it.
Yep.
If that makes sense, opposed to. We're just going to do it because I see they're like, well, doing this again. This is going to be fun, guys. And then you see the product and you're like, is this your 10th one?
Yeah.
Because it looks like shit. And it's not edited well. Well, we don't have the money. We're just doing it for fun. Like, are you okay? Well, then, then
it's a hobby.
So it's a hobby at this point. Then you're not trying to get to the next level.
Yeah.
And that's what scares me is if you're not willing to try to get to the next level, then step out.
Right.
Or that's fun. Stay in the community. Do what you want to do. But that's where I don't want to be.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to help you then. Like, I'm not going to hop on this because you're not willing to go. What is your end goal 10 years from now? Commercial directing, film directing. Do you want features in the can? Not fantasy world either. Like, what have you done to make those steps happen?
Yeah.
Like
it's too expensive for me to have as a hobby, go cook or
yeah. And there's people that are willing
go
to
fishing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I could go get it, and that's by all means.
And that can be expensive too if you want it to be. But
Yeah.
for me, it's like I have a lot of fun making movies, but it's also like I want it to be a job, I want to spend my days working on set.
Yeah.
That's where I feel.
Yeah.
That's where I feel I need to be.
Yeah.
But
And that's funny too, like seeing people that have created their first feature. They're like, you know what? I did my first feature. It was in my garage and it was a love story and it's about time travel. And you look at it and you're like, and there's nothing wrong by all means because we're sitting here giving advice to like the 5 people that listen to this.
Yeah.
But it's almost us just talking like, let's feel better about ourselves, but like.
And it doesn't even have to be advice, but hopefully, people can learn from our
Yeah,
experiences because, man, I've screwed up more than once.
Exactly.
I'm still going to screw up,
Me too, exactly. But you watch their stuff and you're like, I mean, it's like, I'll listen to what you have to say. And it's like, but then they were like, when we sold it to her, I was like, you fucking sold this and made money off of it?
That's what blows me
That's
away.
what makes me be like, oh, we can do this. Like, we can do not to be a dick to them, but you're like, if you did that with that, I know I can do this with that, but it's who do you know? And then that process, but trying to make that last sale, but you're like, oh, that gives me hope because I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do that, So
when some people, they don't have necessarily talent, but they've got the money or they've got some producing knowledge because I don't know. That's something that I would definitely like to bring into our circle and for our production company is someone who wants to produce, and wants to do that above anything else, or someone who knows how to navigate those, the social media and distribution, things like that, after it's shot and edited, what are our best options?
Exactly.
Because that's something where I'm still trying to figure out.
I'm literally navigating that right now.
Yeah.
Like with what I do. It's just my own YouTube channel. Like, and that's the reason why I wanted to do it too, is because that will play a key factor into filmmaking in one way or another, because you have to know how to work social media. And if you're not good enough, then is it worth hiring somebody? Or maybe do I hire somebody to learn from them and teach me, and then I go, it's like, and it's simple things, but it's learning that algorithm, and that's on that side of the house. And now you're right, the producer side of the house, who can wrangle the money up? Who do we talk to who says, don't show me this short film, give me your commercial work and give me this short film, say we make a few, and they're like, this is what they look for, I'll take this and I'll go get you some money, or I'll, or you know what I mean? Like, okay, what's realistic? Can you gather us 200,000 and have somebody be like, I can get you 200 grand. Okay, so what can we do with that 200 grand? He comes back, say with 150. How can we make it done with 150? Well, okay, we have 300 now. Well, that's great. Maybe we should save that at 100 for back end. Like, do we make another? That's a reshoot. Who do we get? So it's all of those things come into play, and having somebody tasked out to be able to do that, that would be awesome. That would somebody who would know how to wrangle that.
Yeah.
Or know enough people in the industry that. even though you're not paying them, they're part of the team, and then we get paid on the back end. And
Sure.
knowing that, and that's the other thing in our industry is knowing that you're good for it on the back end.
Yeah.
Dude, people like things go. I mean, you've run into that. Like you guys got burned by one DP, you and Sam, right?
I mean, I wouldn't even say it burned. I've moved on from a lot of things, but yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is when I work and invest my money and time on a project and then never see the footage. And that's happened more than a few times, and I know that's what I think deters a lot of people from wanting to continue on that path. But it's like, even if it sucks and it sucks and know people aren't gonna like it, like at least let me have that footage so I can have
something. Yeah,
it's like your first feature. Yeah, even if that script never gets made.
Yeah,
is that sentimental. You can look back at that and be like, man, look at the drive I had at this time. Look what I came out with. Yeah, and so I think for me, it's that's where I get really beat down is when it's like you invest that time and you're on set for all these days and then it's like you never actually see anything from it. Yeah. But
that's what I mean. I mean, I know I talked to Sam about it. It was like that one guy that you had. And it was you were gonna work with him, and then nothing happened. He just like took off with like some money, and you're like, and that's happened. I've heard those stories not just with you guys, but like other people. Yeah. And it's so hard to be like, oh god, that would burn you out, or it would just take you down because it's not like you're like some law firm or some some other financial institution where just write it off, whatever, move on to the next thing. Like you're trying to get this made, and not only trying to get it made, you're trying to make your money back. Yeah, that's another element that people don't realize. Like, we're gonna put our money to it and we'll see what happens. It's like, once you'd like to get your money back, and that's something that you have
recouping that money
and recouping it. Yeah,
it allows you to move on to the next one.
Yeah, exactly. You want to draw the line in the sand where you say, no, we need to make our money back. Yeah, and that I think gives a good motivation of separating the people that are hobbyists that are like, I like doing this on the weekend. It makes me feel like an actor or a savant or whatever. I just love acting. It's so good. Yeah. To people that are, no, we need to do this correctly and make this right. And if you're not on the board with that or not 100% or willing to do that, then it's like, well, then that's off. Because there's, people that want to do that you can tell the difference, and like I said, running into you guys was great, especially on this narrative was awesome. I felt like, okay, we could all either raise money or we could all like literally be like, yep, we are willing to donate or even like put our own time. Like working with you guys, I'm like, oh yeah, next time I'm willing to throw in $500 towards like, yep, cool, I'm in the pool. Like, because it's now proven to me that like, cool, there's other people like me that are willing to put in the time and effort and willing to do the rent extra things or to go the extra mile to produce a good product, and that's hard to come by.
That's why I bartended like 20 hours on the side this weekend. It's I like the conversation. I like being behind the bar, but I'm doing it so I can support making films. That's where.
So tell me this: how do you feel? Do you get any of the looks when you ask like, what do you do? And you're like, oh, I'm a filmmaker.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But it's almost always followed by the question, well, what does that mean? Is that a job or is it like a hobby, Yep. And I think I love getting that question because it makes me feel that I'm in the right place. Yeah. Like we talk about narrative filmmaking in the Twin Cities, and the beautiful thing about it is we're not operating under a studio system. We can make what we want to make, we can tell the stories we want to tell. And that's what I like about bartending is I have a part-time bartending job, which a lot of people do, but my full-time aspirations are to make movies. Yeah. And it's like if you go out to LA, or West Hollywood, you've got a million bartenders who also have, I've got a screenplay, or, I do makeup, or I'm a Meisner actor, and that's cool. But I feel like being here, there's less competition in my line of work. So immediately when people hear, I make movies on the side, they're like, that's interesting. That's not HVAC or, plumbing or electric. Like this is different. So it's always people are, intrigued, and I don't expect people to understand it. Like I love my grandmother to death, but she, I think, is still convinced that I do theater. Oh yeah. She went to Branson, Missouri and gave me a bunch of packets on theater literature and stuff. And it's like, it means a lot because it shows that she cares and wants me to be in a good place. Yeah. But it also shows me that like really doesn't quite grasp what goes into making films. You know, she's trying, she cares.
Yeah.
But what we do is weird, man. We're a little crazy to be pursuing this.
It is. And like, even from the get-go, I knew that. I was like, God, like, you're leaving a lot of, like I said, when I told people, well, first off, right when I got out of the Marine Corps, when was it? Yeah, I think it was Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think it was, maybe it was during film school or something, when I was dating. And I was like, hey, yeah, they're like, what do you do? I was like, oh, I make movies. And then they're like, looked at me and they're like in a creepy way.
Yeah.
Creepy way. And I'm like,
a lot of people
movies. And they're like, what kind of movies? And I was like, films, like movies. And they're like, oh, okay. I was like, do you immediately go to like amateur porn? Like when someone says movies and they do. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I make movies. And they're like, whoa. Yeah, and I'm like, what? You know, and so that was pretty funny. That was one of the first reactions while dating. But then, I think in the initial, when you meet new people, but once they like, for me, it was definitely like, yeah, they're, all right, well, that's kind of weird. Like, what are you going to do for that? Like, this isn't Hollywood, that initial, because you were already breaking the mold, pursuing your own career. And you could have been, people would accept me making my own woodworking more than they would as a filmmaker. Like, they'd be like, oh, he makes tables. Makes sense. And then he sells them. And they're like, that's crazy. That's cool. He does that. But you go, I'm a filmmaker. They're like, that's fucking insane. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, what else are you doing? Oh, I do YouTube and podcasting. And the things that they watch every day and listen to every day, but knowing someone that does it is insane. You know, like, it's like, you're doing that. Like, but then you can see the wheels turn a little bit, but like, yep, got to pursue the career, got to start from somewhere. And then it's like, once it sets in, I think people understand, because not every woodworker starts off making there's so much money a year, or electricians or whatever. And
no one's born knowing how to like build a house from scratch.
Exactly.
It's a practice. It's a trade.
Yep. And that's why I think now initial conversations are like that, but then I think it's a lot more, they understand it now. And also seeing my work, when I show someone my work. You gotta
prove yourself.
Yep. And so it's been like 2-3 years now, where now then I show people my work and they go, oh, we get it. Oh, got it. Here's my commercial specs. Here's the actual stuff I've shot, and here's my credentials.
Right.
And you can only build that with time. And then they're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we get it now. Like, but it's still, dude, it cuts. Well, anybody that starts their own career, regardless of filmmaking, you're already an uphill battle.
Totally.
Let alone anything else. And then to say I'm going to be a filmmaker, and then to say we want to make features, and then to say, because it's not even like, I want to work video production. Because that's such a open-ended thing. Like, I could go work for 3M or go work for Target on video production and make $60,000 a year for the rest of my life and work my up to $100K, and I'm fine. I retire.
Right.
That's cool. But to say I'm gonna make features, is like, and then I want to make $100 million features. Yeah. Is totally different, man.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with shooting the Target ads, but I think
not at all.
The biggest difference between commercial and narrative is. We're all forced to watch commercial media. It's fed to us, you know. Everything you watch has an advertisement right now. Streaming services and stuff, you're getting ads on Hulu and whatnot, and I'm sure Netflix is down the road. Mm-hmm. Narrative content, like those big $100 million, $200 million Michael Bay films, people choose to watch those. It's not like you're sitting at home watching the football game and some Bud Light commercial comes on and you're like, well, I don't even drink beer. This is stupid, And you're forced to watch a beer ad for 30 seconds. It's like, people are going to the theater to consciously watch something from someone they enjoy, because they want to do it. And I'd rather have, that satisfaction of like, wow, I made something that people loved and chose to go out and spend their money and take their families to go see versus like, I worked on a Target ad that screened during The Bachelorette at at prime time. A bunch of people saw it. It's like no one's gonna go home and tell their friend about. Oh, I saw this cool Target advertisement today. It's like I don't know. That's why I'd rather make the narrative stuff, is because I think you can really move people with that.
Oh, absolutely.
That medium.
And I agree with you too. And I think it's such a complicated, much more. You really got to collaborate,
Yes.
And then not only that, you have to, and like in the end of the day, it might not even turn out.
Yeah.
I mean, how many Hollywood blockbusters are shit? How many you watch and you're like, this is what you produce, but at the same time, you're like, there's 100 people on set that day. They spent 6 months editing that.
The Nick Cage Superman,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it never happened. Nick
Stuff
Cage
that
Superman.
just never happened.
Yeah, it just never happened. So I think that's what I think would be a great big challenge. And to do it sooner than later, you know?
Yeah.
I'm with you guys on that. Is we're not getting any younger. And the experience isn't going to happen until you do it. So even if you fail at a first feature, at least you did the feature.
Well, and the gear's
Yeah.
going to keep evolving. Cameras move so fast. Everything else
Exactly.
kind of follows. TVs follow whatever cameras are doing. There's
Yep.
so many steps ahead of what we can actually display. You know?
Yep.
What you can shoot is so far ahead of what you can display.
Yep.
And I think it's like, you know, the stuff we were formerly trained on is, you know, reds are still pretty relevant, you know.
Oh, God, yeah.
DSLRs are not necessarily the norm, but they're not extinct yet.
No.
So it's like we owe it to ourselves to
Yep.
do it now
Yeah.
rather than wait, because we've got the gear at our disposals. We've got the network.
Yep.
We've got the drive. We
Yeah.
can all still walk, you know,
Yeah.
we're not in like wheelchairs.
We don't have kids yet.
Yeah.
Some of us don't have kids. I know some have kids, but like don't have the kids yet. You know,
Yeah.
at least on my side of the street, I'm like, well, I don't have a kid yet. I got to do this before I fucking have kids.
Yeah.
You know, because then rubber really hits the road, and you're like, oh shit. And then at that point, hopefully things are going well enough where you're making money. But at that point, though, too, it's like to at least work on that and be like, oh my God, we did it. This is what came out of it. Fuck, man, like it's such a cool realm that we could even go talk to it, not even on the podcast, but there's so many options now, and it's there, and I always say to people, it's there for the taking.
Yeah.
It's whether you're going to do it and whether you're going to keep working at it. And I mean, everybody can be a boxer, but but nobody wants to.
Yeah.
You're going to get the shit kicked out of you, and some make it, some actually a lot don't make it, some do.
Right.
And it depends on how bad do you want to get it. And by some people that wanted it bad, they're just not good enough.
Yeah.
You know, so and then there's always that thought in the back of your head, am I good enough to do this? Am I,
And what's your reason for getting into it? Are you getting into it because it's a labor of love and it's a passion, or are you going to film school because you want your name and lights on the marquee and you want to be a billionaire? Because if that's what you want to do, like there's a million better ways to make money than filmmaking.
Yeah, there's a way better lottery tickets out there.
Yes.
Than to go filmmaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Way quicker paths.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. You got to do it because you love it. And
Yeah.
fortunately, we're two people sitting at this table right now that, hopefully you can hear the drive when we talk.
Hopefully, like 5 years from now, I'll be like, we're pulling the podcast up, and it's just like, or maybe 5-10 years, who knows? But you're like, you finally reach those goals, and they'll be like, hey, this is what I thought 10 years ago.
You
5
can look
years
back and
look
reminisce.
Back. Yeah, reminisce about it.
Yeah,
but,
man.
Yeah, man. So, all right, well, we just did an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming on, man.
You bet, dude.
Appreciate it. It was awesome.
Anytime, dude.
All right. Nagel Bear signing off.